Microsoft Word 2007 Automatic Features Part 2. I don't know about you, but I hate having to do the same thing over and over and over again. And if somebody can do that automatically for me, that makes it even better. Auto format is going to enable us to do that, as well as if I use a commonly used block of text or a graphic or something like that, wouldn't it be better if that's already set up? I click a button, it's placed, and I don't have to do anything? Hey, guess what? Quick parts and building blocks are going to help you out. Some really nifty features that we'll take a look at, including auto format. Just a warning though, it's changed a little bit than what you saw in the Word 2003 environment, but nothing really spectacular. It's still a very nifty feature. Smart tags, how we can take data that is recognized by Word and then perform an action on it. And then of course quick parts and building blocks, which are not so much automatic features. You still have to do a little work in setting them up, but once you get them in place, they are automatically going to help you streamline your process. So let's go ahead and show you the auto formatting part of it. Again, we have our customer response letter. It's growing and getting better and better as we continue to add more and more information to it. And in this case, we went ahead and we said, all right, we have typed up this letter, but what if we want to make it better? Because understand, autocorrect deals with a lot of text and spelling and, whether you want this placed here. Auto formatting deals with things like, do you want the paragraphs, do you want white space taken care of? Do you want to change fractions from 1/2 into a 1/2? Do you want to use smart quotes? Things like that. Now, in order to do auto format, again, we're going to go up to our autocorrect options by clicking on the Office button, going to Word options, coming down here to proofing and clicking on autocorrect options. So we recognize that, and you can see that we have our autocorrect, our math autocorrect that we've seen, and then we have two buttons that we want to take a look at first. First is auto format itself. Now with auto format, what it's going to do is let's say you've gone ahead and you've typed out your letter, you've done a few things, you've made some changes, it's going to go ahead and say, all right, if you want me to do an auto format to your document, I'm going to apply any built-in heading styles. I'm going to automatically take bulleted lists and create bullets. The list styles, if I've got them set up for this template, will be in place, and any other paragraph styles that have been placed on this template will be applied to my document. It'll also replace things. It's going to say, straight quotes will have smart quotes, where it knows that, okay, this is the beginning of the quote, so this must be the end of the quote. So it'll do a beginning quote, end quote. Ordinals with superscript, fractions, like I mentioned, with an actual fractional character, hyphens with dashes, bold and italic with real formatting. If you put, star, bold, asterisk, and then italic, it'll actually do that for you. It'll go and find that and replace it. And then internet and network paths with hyperlinks. Now this is an interesting one, and I'm going to show you something that, especially on the auto format as you type here. I usually leave this one checked here. I change it over here on the auto format as you type, and the reason why is because you can sometimes be typing and then it'll input an actual hyperlink into your document. Now, some people like that, some people don't. I take it off the auto format, and then if I want to add it later on, I just use the auto format button, click it, and it goes through and it changes all of them to hyperlinks. It will also preserve any styles that you've put into place, and there's a little interesting thing. It says always auto format any plain text email documents. If Outlook is utilizing Word as its email editor, you can have it automatically do the automatically do the auto formatting for your plain text email document. So this kind of shows you some of the things that will happen when you hit the auto format button, which we'll show you in a minute. But what most people are familiar with is the auto format as you type. So just like the autocorrect, where if you type certain things, it'll go, oh, I think you meant to do this. For example, the straight quotes with smart quotes, ordinals with superscript, fractions with any fraction characters, the hyphens with the dash. Notice the bold and italic isn't done with real formatting. So if I hit an asterisk, put something, and then add another asterisk, it's not going to do the bolding. It's just going to keep the asterisks on both sides. Internet and network paths with hyperlinks we talked about. It's going to do automatic bulleted lists. We'll talk about bullets and lists in another video, but this shows you how you can do that. It can turn on automatic numbered lists, so that way if you hit 1 period and then something and you hit enter, it'll go to 2. Border lines, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll show you how that works. Tables, it'll automatically do the table production for you. Built-in heading styles. So notice how this is deselected, but yet on auto format it is selected. So you can make different changes here depending on which one you want to do. And then, of course, format the beginning of list items like the one before it, set left and first indents. These, again, are all things that you can set up to happen automatically as you're typing. And it's not with text and spelling, it's with the formatting of the actual document itself. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and say, okay, looks good. We'll do that. We'll click OK, and we'll click OK one more time. Now what's happened is that I'm going to go ahead and say I want to maybe add a little bit more to the Jeremy's letter here. And so I hit enter twice, and I'll say our first, and I'm going to show you how the ordinals work. First, and then I hit space. Watch what happens. It automatically superscripts it and creates an instead of first, it's a now it's the number one with a little superscript. But see, it's an autocorrect option because I'm using the auto format. So it says, hey, do you want to stop this automatically? Do you want to undo the superscript? And notice it's an auto format option. This is not an autocorrect function. It's auto format. So I'll say our first website is www.cbtnuggets.com. Now when I hit space, notice it creates automatically the hyperlink. See, it says control and click will take you and follow that particular hyperlink. And of course I do have the option, of course, coming down here and turning this off by saying undo the hyperlink, stop automatically creating hyperlinks, or control the auto format options. Now you might want to do that only because if you're moving within the document and you're typing this stuff, you might not want it to automatically apply the HTTP : formatting to this and create the hyperlink. You might want to wait and do that later on, or maybe you just don't like doing that because it is going to be a printed document, not necessarily an electronic version. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, what's the difference? Well, if you print it, obviously you can't take your piece of paper and click with your finger and open up a website on your actual screen. But if it's a Word document in electronic form on your screen, this will allow you to open up a hyperlink. So if I hit Control and click, it's going to open up cbtnuggets.com in a web browser. So here you go. It says, hey, welcome to CBT Nuggets IT Certification Training Videos. And by the way, a quick plug for my series on Outlook 2007. Make sure that you get a chance to check that out. So anyway, this kind of just shows you how the hyperlink works. So I'll close that, and you'll see that it automatically changes the color of the hyperlink just like it would in a website that this link has been visited. It turns to the purple instead of the blue. Now you can of course come back and hit the backspace and it will turn that off, or if I retype it in, let's say we do google.com and hit space, I can of course come over here, roll over, and say to this the actual autocorrect options and say undo hyperlink, and it removes that hyperlink. I can come back and redo the hyperlink, or stop automatically creating hyperlinks. Now when I do this, what I've effectively done is said now is www.google.com, and our second, and there goes the ordinal again, website is www.cbtnuggets.com. Now when I hit space, notice it didn't do anything. It said, oh, you said to stop doing that. So I can control that. You can also, of course, come up here, go to your Word options, come in here, click on the proofing and autocorrect options, and under the automatic format as you type, you can deselect that here. So that's another option that you have. Now remember though, when I did all this formatting and I did some fun stuff with that, I turned this one off. So that's kind of, if I wanted to, I can come back and use the auto format button and it will re-add that information, because notice it says internet and network paths with hyperlinks. So I can come back in and do that. So let me go ahead and click OK. And now I come up here to my quick toolbar, quick access toolbar, and I've added the auto format button right here. Alt-Control-K does auto format. Now when I do this, watch what happens. Aha! Look at that. It said automatically, well, you obviously might want to have this as a hyperlink, and this one too. It removed all of the white space, the extraneous white space that I had because of the format that I had, so it did all this auto formatting. Now if I, of course, come up here and say undo that auto format, it will bring it right back to where it was before. Some of the other neat auto formatting tips, things that you can do, something you might want to I use a lot of times if you're wanting to divide sections of your document and you want to use a line, well, of course, you can obviously insert, word art and quick parts and, these things that you want to do, or smart art or shapes or charts. But watch this. If I do 3 hyphens in a row and I hit enter, it automatically gives me a single line. Notice there's my little autocorrect options. And if I wanted to, I can use the equals. So if I use 3 equals in a row, it gives me a double line. So these are just some of the automatic formatting things that you can do while you type. And so that's the difference. Auto format as you type, or if you want to go ahead and do all this, you can go ahead and click on the auto format or hit Alt-Control-K. That will then take your document and apply whatever settings you have in that auto format. So that pretty much gives you an idea of what auto formatting looks like. And we want to also show you, though, some of the other neat things, including smart tags and building blocks. First, let's start off with smart tags. I don't know if you were able to view my Microsoft Office 2003 series, where in Word we talked about how smart tags are really good at taking text or things or objects in your Word document, and you can perform actions upon them. That's what the smart tags are all about. For example, here in this document, I've got a date, 4/05/2008, and you notice these little blue dots underneath, which means that it is a smart tag. What that means is, in Word, I've enabled it to recognize the date format as a date, and that you might be able to perform a function on it. So if I scroll over this smart tag, you'll notice the little information eye comes up there. It says, ooh, hello, smart tag. And what you're able to do is, if you roll over it, you can perform certain actions on this smart tag. So if I click the down arrow, it says, hey, look, I recognize this is a date. This is April 5th, 2008. Now, what would you like to do? Would you like to schedule a meeting? Show your calendar for that particular date, remove the smart tag and say, that's okay, we don't need the smart tag. You can even stop recognizing it as a date or a smart tag, and then of course you can open up the smart tag options, which we'll show you in just a minute. But let's say I wanted to go ahead and schedule a meeting, or in this case, hey, you know what, I sent this letter, it's going to go out on April 5th, 2008. What's going on that day? If I click show my calendar, watch what happens. Bada bing, bada boom, it opens up my Microsoft Outlook and shows me my calendar for April 5th, 2008. That's pretty sweet. So you can see how the integration between all these applications in Office, whether it's Outlook and Word and Excel. What's really neat is that Microsoft now, as we've moved into the 2007, has opened it up for third-party applications to be able to be used with smart tags. Nice! In fact, if you go out to Microsoft's Office website, you can go and do a search on smart tags. It'll list to you some of the smart tags and some of the actions for those particular companies. If you have a database program or things like that, you can utilize those. So it's kind of cool. It adds that functionality. So I'll go ahead and close out my Microsoft Outlook, and we can see that. And instead, let's we go, okay, that's cool for a date, but let's go ahead and check our smart tag options and some of the things that we do. I can click on this, and it opens up my autocorrect smart tag options. And what it says is, hey, look, you can recognize certain types of data. Right now I've got date and a person's name. It can recognize whether that's an Outlook email recipient. So if Jeremy was in my email, I could click on him and it would open up an email and I could send him an email. But let's do something else. Let's do smart tags for telephone number. Now when I select this, what it's going to do is it actually enables me to create a new contact for that particular person. Now I can also do person's name and some other things. But on the telephone number, notice it gives me the ability to do properties. So I can go ahead and click on the properties, and it's going to take me out to Office and say this is what you can do with the particular smart tag properties. So it gives you a whole list of all the options that we can do. The telephone number smart tag enables you to add a new entry to your Outlook contacts list. Things like that. So when you click on that, you might think, oh, it's going to go to the properties of that particular thing. No, it actually takes you out to the website for Office Online. So we can say, okay, that looks good, and we can even have it recheck the document. When I click on recheck the document, it's going to say, all right, it's going to discard any of the smart tags and recheck it. And so any of that stuff that you chose to ignore may be rechecked. In other words, if you said, hey, when you're doing spelling check, and I said to ignore that, now it's going to come back and say, that's still a spelling error. So just so you know. So we go ahead and click yes, and it says, all right, the smart tag check is complete. We click OK, and now notice something. Aha! Jeremy Chara, his name now shows up, and I click on it, and I can send mail. I can, if I want to Jeremy, so I went ahead and clicked on it and bring up a new email message that I can send to Jeremy Chara. That's kind of fun, so we can do that. Let me go ahead and close that. And what else can we do here? We can click on there, and we can schedule a meeting with Jeremy. We can open up Contact. I can add him to my contacts. I can insert his address if I already have that information. And of course, I can stop recognizing and remove the smart tag. I can do all those options. Look down here. I got a telephone number. And now I can come up here and do the same thing. Hey, here's a telephone number. Do I want to add this to the contacts? So if I click on that, it now opens up again my Microsoft Outlook and my contact editor here. And so now I can say, all right, what's the name of this person for this particular number? And I can start adding that information in. Nice. This just makes it so much easier. The workflow is just so much better, even utilizing smart tags. So smart tags are pretty cool. You might want to use those in your environment. Now you can turn them off if you just kind of, like some people just don't like their mouse to kind of sprout little icons every time you roll over something. You can turn those off if you want. So those are just some options that you have there. All right, so that gives us smart tags. Next up is building blocks. I'll be honest, quick parts and building blocks are actually not as automatic as you would think. You actually have to do a few things to set them up. But once you've set up these quick parts or building blocks, you can automatically insert them into your document just by coming up here to quick parts. So if you notice, we have the reusable pieces of content. Now this can be anything. It could be addresses. It could be lists. You can create things like your contact information. You might also have maybe perhaps an org chart that you put at the end of all your HR documentation, or something like that. Whatever it is, you can take that and create it as a building block, a piece. For example, thanks again, Chris W., Acme Musical Instruments Incorporated, and all this. Well, guess what? If I select all of this, this is going to be, I want to create this as a new quick part. So I come up here to quick part, and I say, you know what? I want to save my selection to the quick part gallery. Now when I do this, it's going to say, all right, you're creating a brand new building block. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this is company contact. So that way the company contact information, it's going to be put in the quick parts gallery. Now quick parts has its one thing, but you also have other areas, the building blocks that we're going to see, auto text, equations, footers, and everything else. So quick parts works for me. A category, you can categorize it as a general. You can create new categories like address parts. You could do that if you wanted. And in my case, I'm going to say this is mailing, address, and telephone number for Acme Instruments. So we're going to go ahead and save that in our building blocks. You can also save it in your normal template or into your building blocks if you want. And do you want to insert the content only, or do you want to create a whole new paragraph or a whole new page when you hit that quick part? So no, we'll just say we'll insert the content right wherever I put my cursor. That's important to understand. With this, it creates a brand new paragraph. If you do an insert content only, whatever your cursor is, that's where the content goes. And of course, you can create the new page. So it looks good. We go ahead and we click OK, and I've now created a quick part. So now let's say I come over here and I'm going to select it. I'm going to delete it, get rid of it. So I'm typing my letter. I go thanks again, bada bing, bada boom, and I don't want to have to type out my contact information. This is a lot like the auto text that they used to have in the 2003 environment. Now I come up to quick parts and I click on the down arrow and look at that. The first thing that shows up is my company contact. Now, of course, if I have more of these, it would give me a list of these quick parts that I can choose from. So I go ahead and click on this. Boom, there it is. It's automatically set up right where my cursor was, and it fills it in. Now this is nice, especially if you create like a logo. Let's say in your headers, and your footer, you always use your company logo and things like that. Well, you can create that size perfectly with all the information. Go into your header, insert it, boom, it's there, it's done, and you're ready to go. So those are some cool things that you can do. But also, notice we have not only my quick parts that I've created. You can also change things for the document properties as well. You can change keywords, managers, other things. You can add a field if you want to insert a field. We'll talk about how you can create forms and use these particular fields in another video, just so you know this is one of the places you can do that. And here is the building blocks organizer. So if I click on this, it's going to say, all right, look at all the building blocks, all the pieces that you can have. And this is there really to streamline all the things that you're trying to do. Now, this can include text, images, any special formatting, whatever you save as a building block, it's going to show up that way. So if you look under Works Cited, it will give you an example of what Works Cited looks like. It creates this little bibliography, and it gives all the sources associated with the document. So if you've used any citations, it'll create that. Here's another bibliography that you can use. You can do different equations. Remember how we were able to insert the quadratic formula, Taylor expansion, so e to the power of x, things like that. So these are all built-in categories. These are things that are included as part of your Office 2007 that you get. Now you get footers. You can add a motion, and it gives you a different look and feel. Pinstripes, annual, cubicles. I mean, you can add all kinds of neat little things that we will add as part of these building blocks. So you can put in footers, headers. You can create page numbering types with large italics. You can kind of see it over here on the top. You can use page numbering here, where I'll put the page label in an accent bar. So whatever you want. I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff here that you can choose from with page numbers, tables of contents, different type of text boxes. I really like these. When we talk about creating text boxes in a future video, we'll show you how you can create your own, but these have already been formatted and modified so you could use a title sidebar text box. This has been created. Now you just insert your whatever information that you want to. Okay, that's pretty cool. Transcend, mod, pinstripes, whatever you want. These are pre-formatted blocks that you can use to add to your document. Pretty neat. You can edit the properties of these particular one. You can delete them if you don't want. You can insert a new one once you've created it. So there's all kinds of nifty things that you can do with the building blocks. Now just remember, when you are looking at the building blocks organizer, all these things from cover pages to equations and page numbers, you are going to use the organizer here to add, delete, and do all that. And then just simply, if you want to add, let's go ahead and add a pinstripes quote box here. I go ahead and click on it. We click on insert it, and bada bing, bada boom, there it is. And so now I can start creating something within this text box anywhere. And notice it even gives you instructions. That's the nice thing about these. It tells you how to utilize them. So how much easier can that be? And then automatically, as Word already always does, whenever you're doing something with text boxes or anything, the ribbon changes. It gives you your text box tools, and then you can start manipulating it as you want. So building blocks and quick parts are something you definitely are going to want to get used to utilizing, because come on, it just makes it better. It's a great tip and technique for you to use to streamline your process. We always like things that are going to make our lives easier, and some of these automatic features we saw are going to help us out quite a bit, including auto format. So as you're typing, if you want straight quotes to turn into smart quotes, it'll happen. You want things to turn bold. You want bullet lists to happen. Do you want ordinals to be superscripted? Things like that. Not a problem. Auto format's going to take care of you, whether you do it as you type or whether you fire off the auto format button, which will go behind you and perform all that for you. Smart tags, of course, allow us to analyze data that's on the screen, and then Word says, hey, I notice this looks like a date, this looks like a person's name, do you want to do something with it? And it allows you to perform automatic actions upon those words and dates and things you've got. And then there's quick parts and building blocks. If you're kind of like a Lego maniac or something, you like putting pieces together, and that's how you create your documents, well, build those blocks once, repeat, and that way you are not going to have to do the same work over and over again because you have these blocks in place. You can just simply place into your document, and boom, there you are. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.